So today we wanted to take on the big, large and never-ending probably theme of energies.
Yes, energies.
And I have been thinking about it a little bit, what energies actually mean for me. It's like a word that I definitely use so much. And I, of course, have like my own understanding of what I mean by it, but it's like this word that can mean a million different things, I think. So it's probably good to become a little bit more clear of what we're actually talking about.
Right.
And of course, energy is everywhere and in everything,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't really help us to work with it. So I think, like to talk about, like, break it down a little bit
Mm-hmm.
and bring it into the circle context so that we can talk about very concrete energy problems. So first, maybe well, let's start with like a kind of simple one, the energy of the space.
Mm-hmm.
So I have organized circles in several different spaces. I was in a yoga studio, I was at my home, I was at other people's homes, I was in a dance studio. So every space has its own quality, and I would call that the energy of the space. And I've worked in places where I felt like I need to smudge to clear the energy. So when I go into a space, first of all, I like when it's kind of empty. I don't like a lot of clutter in spaces because that catches energies for me. You know, it catches like my attention. It's kind of, I'm maybe a little bit OCD with that, but it's like nice if you come to a space and it's all open and it's light, for example. No, it's like you have the difference between a light space and a dark space. Like a dark space will make you feel much more like going down the light space will actually allow you to open up and take more of the space. So I'm thinking of how much of the space can I take? You know, how much of the space can I occupy with my group? And when I first started, for example, in the yoga studio, we were in the first, I did a circle in just the lobby, and there was clothes hanging there for sale, and there was all kinds of stuff. There were books, there was like the desk with the people, and so it was like a space that was full of things for me. I mean, it was still enough space to sit there, but it didn't feel clear.
Mm-hmm.
And so I arranged myself and my own little things that I bring. So I'm setting up a space. And I always have something in the middle. I always have like a piece of cloth. And I bring crystals or shells, or I bring all kinds of stuff to set up in the middle. And I mostly make it in the mandala shape. I mostly create some kind of mandala in the middle. And I do that because it helps me organize the space. And it helps me make it more, make it like clearer for me. And I think that people feel that. You know, when you come in and you have a center point that you look at, and it's very like when you look at a mandala shape, and I mean, it's never perfect. It's always like has its sides, and you know, I work with whatever I find, whatever I bring for the element again. So I put like a mandala made out of feathers, or a mandala made out of shells, or out of rocks, or out of like different things. And that for me has the effect of organizing it for me so that I can calm down in it. You know, it's kind of like a calming shape for me. It's in itself, when you look at a mandala kind of shape, it's very calming and centering. So this is the reason why I do that. This is the reason why it has a mandala shape for me, because I want to center. And I think, I don't know how you feel about it. Would be interesting to know because I never really talked to anyone about this, like how it actually feels when you come into the space and you see this setup. Like what does it feel like? You know, do you feel like the that is centering and calming, and you find like your corner in it, and you kind of find your space in it? Like, how's that for you?
The mandala thing is not new to me. That's actually part of some of my original teaching, and a lot of what you say is consistent with that. Something else I picked up from it is that your tools, your ritual tools, can sort of serve as a concentrator. So if you really want to call in a certain energy of like fire and you're holding a piece of obsidian or something like that, you can sort of manifest something that shapes your reality with the help of that concentrated energy. But I mean, maybe that's some next level stuff. But I would tend to agree with you. Like you can see my environment right now. This is all the product of trying to do that very thing, open that space, bring in calming images, invoke ideas of other planes of thought or other planes of being. And then also the setup with ritual tools in the middle, for me, it always feels like a balancer among whoever's sitting in the circle, sort of like a weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is good. And also it kind of creates a structure where everybody finds their place in it.
Yeah.
So it's like you have, I don't know, your little crystal in front of you or something like this. And it's like something that brings you in the circle, something that connects you to the circle. So it creates spaces for people, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. And you'll see that people will tend to be drawn toward a specific group of tools that might be doing something special for them.
Right? Or like a corner in the space, a certain direction, or something like this.
Mhm.
I agree. Yeah. So yeah, that's how I work with spaces. And yeah, really sometimes I just I spend a while before in the space. And for me it's also good to come there, set up my thing, and even if I'm in a private house, I will do that. You know, I come early so that I can center. And this is also like affecting my own energy, my own like aura, and my own, and I get centered. You know, if I do this, it's like a meditation to just set it up. So I'm taking this time to and giving this attention to the space, and in the same time I give this attention to myself. And like maybe, you know, I had something going on before, then I'm processing it while I do that, and I
Mhm.
just feel calmer. I feel calming down in this process of like setting up my crystals or whatever I bring, you know, putting the elements there, putting all the things there. It's a good way to center yourself and to basically I start the ritual or start the ceremony before everyone comes, so that
Mhm.
I am already in that place of I am in that ceremony.
I like that.
Yeah, I think like for me that's a good, it's like tuning in. That's how I would call it, I think, you know. I prepare the space, and that's how I tune in. And then if I have time, I sit in front of it and I meditate for a moment, and then I'm ready, you know, for whatever happens, whoever comes. And
Mhm.
I can and I don't have anything going on inside myself that I still need to like work around or something, you know. It clears me. It
I
brings
love
me into a very clear space.
where you can sort of work without any preconceptions. You're just back in your grounded space.
Yeah, without any inner turbulence.
Right, right. Well, and I'd also add the space ends up losing its turbulence too. If you subscribe to the idea that things more than just beings are sentient, or not sentient, but have some sort of like cognitive place in the universe, and you can show respect to inanimate things, like you can show respect to a room as though it's a character, and then you enter into a respectful contract with it, and you allow each other to work. And that's what we're doing, right? Is we're entering into a circle to do work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very good. Yeah, and it's also a little bit like asking permission to the place in a way
Yeah.
too. I was thinking like after we talked about how to open a circle, that's like one of the points I totally forgot, and that's one of the things I really like doing, to like ask for permission. Ask for
Mm-hmm.
permission from the space, and ask for permission from the ancestors of the place, and all the spirit beings that might be around, or if we're outdoors, for example, no, ask for permission to do the circle there. And this is like a communication with the space. It's
Yeah.
like, I communicate with the space, and I ask to be here, and I ask to be supported by the space.
Right.
And yeah, it's good to do that with intention and in a very conscious way. Yeah. So yeah, that would be spaces. And okay, so next would be people. So if I have this space set up, then people come. And it's interesting. I have this experience. I can feel the energies of people. And in my idea, everybody kind of can do that. Maybe not exactly in the way that I do it, because I learned that after an accident. So it was kind of like, it's
Oh,
like when you have an injury and then you heal from it, and then you
I'd love to hear this story sometime.
yeah, well, I can give a very short one. I was hit by a car when I was 19, and I grew up in a big city, and I crossed the road, and a car came and hit me, and I don't have any memory of that. So it's like a part of myself that's kind of buried, and my face was broken. So I have like here, I have broken bones, which at that time were the only broken bones in my body. Like the first time I broke something, it was my face. And so in the recovery process, I went to a normal doctor, like a brain doctor, I guess. And his only therapy was to give me pain medication. And I was like, it's not really pain. I just had this new crazy sensation. My whole face was like hypersensitive. It was like if I felt a little bit of wind on my face, it was like someone putting ice cubes on me. It was, everything was just heightened. Everything was like super crazy. Um, so I decided to just step away from that. I was like, I don't want to take pain medications for the rest of my life. I don't think that's working for me. That's not a therapy. That, and plus, like I mentioned acupuncture for him to him one time, and he literally laughed at me. And I was like, okay, I don't think that's gonna work with us here. I don't think we have the same idea of stuff. And like looking back, I'm always so thankful that I did that. That my 19-year-old me was like brave enough to step away from the normal medicine and be like, no, I'm gonna be okay. And I decided to not call it pain.
Mm-hmm.
And that was because, it, of course, it sometimes was painful, but it was not just pain, it was all these sensations that were just like strong sensations. And I decided, okay, I want to learn about this. I think things happen for a reason. For some reason, I get this sensation now. And then for the next 10 years, my body was like split in two halves.
Oh, wow.
So right in the middle, this part of my body would feel different from this part of the body. First it was the face, and then it went into the entire body. And with that, I learned to sense aura. So if I had someone stand on my left side, it would feel distinctly different than when they stand on my right side. And this is how I learned to feel the space in between. And I came to a place where I could literally touch it, where I could be like, I'm touching myself here and I can feel it. So, if I do this, I have a sensation here. So for me, people feel, yeah, like even if a person sits like a few feet away from me, I can feel them. And it's a physical sensation for me.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, this is how I feel feel the people. And well, in Circle, it's a great like gift, I feel the people and I can look inside them in a way. So when someone comes into the Circle, I feel their energy and I feel if they are upset or if there's something stuck in them or like, and I have some kind of idea, and I'm of course trying to not judge it. I'm trying to be open to it, but it's good for me to have this feeling that I can see, okay, I'm going to be careful, for example, with this person. They feel fragile to me or something, and I'm not going to push them. Or like when someone talks, I can feel stuff in it. And I know that everybody has some kind of intuition. If you're in a space and someone enters the room, you will have like something is triggered in you, whatever that feels like for you, whatever that looks like for you. And I think it's good to just become aware of it and to practice this awareness, and not really to where you have to know what's wrong with them or something. It's not about you judging what's happening with this person. It's just for yourself to feel into it. And for example, we all know that sometimes a person enters the room and we feel uncomfortable. That can happen. That can also happen in Circle, and it's very important to be aware of that. Not to actually do something. It doesn't have to go straight into action. Like I feel uncomfortable and I'm going to act on it. No, that's not the plan. Like I feel uncomfortable and I become aware of it so that I don't have to act on it.
Right.
So that I can still be centered in myself. And I think like, yeah, that is a thing in interacting with people that I find very important, to be aware of how you personally experience the energy of other people without like making it a theory, without, it doesn't have to be that you feel the chakras or, the aura looks like this and that all of that doesn't matter in this moment. In this moment, it's just, what is the sensation for you personally? How do you feel with several different people in a room? And what does that do to you? And of course, that's also like a personal thing. There's people that feel like nurtured by other people that feel like their energy is rising when there's a lot of people that feel like shy with other people around. And it's very important that you learn about yourself first.
Indeed. In some people who might identify as empathic might also need the ability to distinguish their feelings from somebody else's feelings when they're still kind of learning the difference between those sensations.
Yes, I think that is, and I mean, even though I can feel people in a very distinct way, I'm not free from having inner reactions. It's not like, oh, I know this. No, it's totally not like that. I have, but I am aware of it. I'm aware of, oh, okay, like this woman triggers something in me. I feel kind of uncomfortable, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I can sit with that and I can be like, oh, this person, I love, makes my heart open, like, yay. So there's like all kinds of sensations, and I always feel like I don't have to be best friend with everyone. I don't have to love everyone, you know. It's okay, but it is more about respecting and accepting and taking everyone the way they are without wanting to change them, and just finding a way to still create this feeling of oneness, this feeling of connection. So I can connect to someone, even though I don't really, you know, I mean, didn't really happen to me in circles that I had people come there who I totally didn't like. But
But
there are people that trigger me for sure, you know. There are people where I'm like, ah, and that's okay, you know, and I can feel that inside me and I breathe into it. So
well,
what
it's
I do,
that entering into a respectful relationship, because a person is yet another space of energy, and each space has its own unique energy. And so if we enter into that respectful communication with one another, then that's like the gateway to unity.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think so too. And then, yeah, like what I do when I feel triggered, for example, I breathe.
Mm.
It's like the one thing where I'm
Right.
like, okay, take a deep breath. And I really tell myself that. And because I've practiced it, it's automatic. No, I have like this weird feeling inside suddenly. I'm breathing and I'm giving it a moment. And that is, I think, the number one thing, to not react immediately, to always give it a moment.
I like that.
Yeah, to always take a breath and feel into myself, feel like, okay, where, you know, because in everyday life, we so often just react to people. It's like, oh, this person does this, and then I have like all these negative thoughts in my mind, and I want them to change, and I, you know, want everybody to do what I want.
Mhm.
But in circle, that's really not the way to go. You know, it's not gonna work.
Mhm.
So in circle, it's like you have to take the time to breathe, and I think this is why, for me, it's a space of slowing down, and it's a space of becoming aware. And it's the best practice. It's like where you can learn it and where you can practice it over and over and over again, and then you can take it into your everyday life from there, you know.
Yeah.
And you can maybe not react to your partner right away, or to your kids right away, or, you know, to like the grocery store lady who's
Hmm.
triggering you for some reason, you know, who's like making you mad.
Right.
So yeah, but I mean, people is a big topic. So the next thing would be the voice speaking, and there is a lot to learn from the voice, I think, and that shows a lot about people. And even though it shows me a lot, I'm trying to not, you know, be judgy, not be like, oh, this person speaks in this like silent little voice, they have this and this problem, you know. It's like, okay, but it's not my problem, and I can just give them the space to experience talking in front of people, for example, you know. So yeah, when you have, it's very interesting. I mean, it's, you know, I'm just sitting there observing and sending love to everyone. When somebody speaks in a circle, this is what I do. I
Mm.
send them, I consciously send them my energy and my love, for them to open up, for them to speak whatever they need to speak. And I don't care if I like what they say or not. You know, sometimes I don't like, if I don't want to listen, I don't have to listen, but I'm still going to send them my energy. I'm still going to help them to speak, because what they speak is not to me. Like, you know, when someone speaks in a circle, I can, of course, you know, it often touches a place in me.
Mm.
And it's very good to really, really, really listen and really see like where it touches me, and really see like, or where it triggers me, where, you know, this where we meet basically in the way they talk, the sound of the voice. So it's like it's not just the words, it's everything beyond the words. Especially when someone speaks, it's really how they speak that sends out the energy. That kind of, and that can bring stuff up or it can bring stuff down, and it's okay. If someone has a terrible story to tell, then the circle is the place that can hold that. And then even if the energy is going down and getting heavy and everybody's like, then I'm going to tell everyone to take a deep breath. And it's like good to have tools with that. For example, if you have a very like deep story or something, someone sharing like something that's really affecting everyone, you can feel that it affects everyone, then it's good to give that a moment. And it's probably good to advise everyone to take a big breath, for example, or to move. Moving the body always helps with stuck energy. So we can come to that in a minute, like how to actually work with the energies. What do I do? How do I like hold it? It's all about holding the energy, and this is like such a kind of unclear idea to how do I hold energy? I can't really even see it. So yeah, okay, let's maybe start with that. Okay, so if I have a listening circle, and after the listening circle, the energy is down and heavy, and I can feel like, and I mean, you can often see it in people's postures too. And that is very good to become aware of it too. To become aware of all the little signs, the posture of the people, where they are, are they kind of like where they look, for example, are they concentrated, are they looking at the person, or are they just like beaming off, or are they like is it scattered, for example? Are people kind of moving around and woo, or do we have people chatting in between, people interacting in different other ways? So I will provide ways to center everyone's energy or to lift everyone's energy. So when I feel the energy is down, mostly I sing. Singing always helps. Singing is the best medicine if the energy is stuck and heavy, and really bringing the spirits down. When we have like, and we all kind of breathe out and we're like, wow, this was like hard work, and now, okay, what to do now? You sing. And what singing does, it brings vibration into the space. And if you imagine it, you can really imagine we sing, and if I sing, my entire body vibrates, and vibrates inside of me, and it vibrates out. So I have these waves of energy emitting from everyone that's singing into the space, and that will clear your space, that will lift the energy of the space up, and that will lift the energy of every person up inside of them. So singing is really a magical thing. And it can be anything. In a situation like that, after a heavy talking circle, I would, for example, sing a mantra or something like this, something that really like centers, or sing a really happy, uplifting song, something that makes people smile. So you can really use that in several different ways. Also, if the energy is very scattered, singing mantras, for example, can concentrate. If you repeat the same thing over and over and over again, you automatically get into a kind of trance state. And it's like people might not even realize that, but is where you come into your center automatically. You cannot be scattered if you sing mantras. You will come into this middle center place, and then from there send out your waves of energy. So what also works, for example, is just sounding, or just playing instruments. Singing bowl is a really clears the space, clears the energy, because it has such a strong frequency. And in the singing bowl is cool because you can actually really see it. If you pour water in the singing bowl and then you sing it, the water will move in patterns, and this is what it does outside, of course. It's like, so it moves the space into patterns.
Yeah.
And you can feel it. Like, I can feel it in my body. If I have these kind of sounds around, I'm like, ooh, okay, this is uplifting. And also movement. Movement will be the second thing, the second magical tool I use to change the energy. So if we have been sitting in a talking circle or in a listening circle, and we listen to everyone, and there was some heavy stuff, or it's just exhausting to sit and listen, because you're trying to be so concentrated, and then it is great to just get up and move. And one of my favorite movement exercises is shaking. This is shaking is like a natural thing. It's funny, if you watch animals, for example, or if you watch kids, they will just shake.
Yeah.
And shaking is really, it shakes off the energy. And it's in Qigong, we do that as a conscious exercise, shaking. So I actually have a process for shaking. I stand up and I start shaking my hands, shaking my elbows, shaking my shoulders, and then bouncing into my heels and shaking the whole body. And you can do that for a few minutes, even if it feels really funny. I wouldn't do it for too long, because then it can go into scattering too. You want to find the balance there. With movement things, it can bring people into a space too, where they're like, oh, and then it's like something entirely different, no? And the concentration is gone. So you don't want to shake it out too much.
Right.
Then you shake all the concentration away, or you have to shake and then you sing. That one.
Then it's a party.
So it's like the little things, if I feel like, oh, okay, people get into talking about random things or pointing out, I don't know, that looks funny or something, then I'm like, okay, we need to center again. So centering is like, breathing is also great for centering. Breathing exercises is what I use the most, I think, for centering. And I use that, for example, in the beginning of the circle. I really love to use it, or at any other point. Like whenever I feel like we need to center, when I feel that the energy is kind of disturbed, for example, if something happens, I'm very sensitive to sound. So if there's a loud noise, for example, I'm going to be scattered. And then I breathe. I do that for myself. But for example, if I feel in the circle something disturbed the energy of the circle, the flow, I don't know, some kind of interruption happened, for example, where everybody's like, oh no, look at this. And then I'm like, okay, let's bring everyone back together. Let's breathe. So breathing is a very good tool. And the breathing, I guide the breathing, and that is like, I know how my voice affects people. And I think this is a good thing to also observe about yourself. Like, we all have different voices. And I can practice my voice to where it is very soothing and very calming. And when I talk like that, I calm myself. No, it's funny
Mhm.
because when I did my first guided meditation, I had no idea what I was doing. I was very afraid. I was totally like, oh no. And I was talking myself into a trance just by the way I talked, because
Mm.
my voice, I went slow, and I created this just with the tone and with the uh, yeah, you just use a softness, and really, I know I haven't had a baby, so I can't say it's like talking to a baby. What That's what I would imagine talking to a baby, like
Yes.
very calm. You want people to calm, so you speak calm and slow and in like a rhythm that makes yourself feel comfortable and very quiet and calming. So you can practice that, for example.
Mm.
And um, yeah, maybe we can talk about how to guide a meditation at another meeting,
Okay.
because that's like really a thing that everybody can learn, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
And yeah, so I do that. No, I use my voice, I use the tone of my voice, the way I speak, what I say. I do instruct a lot. No, I tell people, okay, take a deep inhale and imagine something or whatever. I make up a little story, and then I guide the breathing, I guide the movement in a way that, yeah, where I can feel, okay, it calms down and we all become centered again.
Mhm.
And I'm sure everybody can feel that somehow. You're going to find your own way to feel that somehow. And yeah, those are, I think, the things I use the most.
That makes sense. And I would say that that calming is another interaction with the calming voice and the calming breathing and everything. That's another interaction with the energy of the space, because what you're doing is inviting safety for everybody there who maybe isn't as deeply in tune with some of these tools and doesn't know their way around a women's circle yet. It kind of levels the energy to the point that people can feel equally accepted.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. And it also, like, it basically teaches people all these practices in a non-teaching way,
Yeah.
just through experience. Like after that, maybe you're in a stressful situation, but you can remember to breathe, and you know how to calm things down. So yeah, with movement, for example, sometimes I had the experience that it actually scattered the energy a little bit.
Mhm.
Like, for example, after a circle where we talked and it was really deep and heavy, I decided to move and we went outside. And every time you move from space to space, for example,
Mhm.
that can really like mess up your energy to where you have to do another practice to center it again.
Yeah.
But that's okay, it's just a learning process, and it's okay to open it up and to give people some space and to have them move around for a moment and to have them chatter and laugh and stuff. I kind of feel when things like that happen, the the women also need that in a way, because it's for
Mhm.
them, it's a social gathering too. Not everybody comes with a total this is my ceremony kind of mindset. Of course some people come with that, and
Yeah.
then it's really nice to work with them and it's really nice to go very deep. But I think it's okay that not everybody comes with that kind of consciousness too, or with that kind of yeah, with yeah, you know what I mean.
I do. There's a favorite saying, come as you are.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm really inviting everyone to come as they are. So when I feel that people need that for a moment, I'm going to give him that.
Mm.
And it's going to be okay. Even if I have the feeling, okay, and now, everybody's chitter chatter and there's like all this stuff going on and I want to, go into a meditation now, but it's okay. So I'm going to sing a song, or I'm going to do a breathing exercise, or I'm going to do a movement exercise, or I don't know what else I do. Those are the things I think that I use for centering and for really holding the energy and for moving the energy in the direction that I want to have it. So I'm very aware of what I want with that. I'm very aware of why I do this breathing exercise right now, or why I sing a song right now. I mean, I just sing songs for fun too.
Or play an instrument.
Yeah.
Play those kinds of things, kind of bring it all together.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and for myself personally, I also work with color and with like just how I prepare myself. I think that would be another thing that where I influence my own energy. I choose very deliberately, for example, what I'm gonna wear. And I'm going to wear things that I feel give me energy, give me strength, I wear a lot of blue because I want to communicate very clear. I have, for example, my magical necklace that I'm wearing almost every time. And it is chrysocolla, like turquoise kind of stone. It has turquoise in it. And so I'm wearing jewelry, for example, that helps my throat, and it gives me energy, and I really feel the difference. If I'm not wearing that, I don't talk as clear, I don't talk as easy. I may have like little stuff stuck, or it may be easier to confuse me, if something happens, then I'm like, oh. So I want to make sure that I'm not losing my own energy, that I am completely centered. Because if you are centered, then you can deal with whatever happens around you. And you will always have the ability to consciously direct the energy. So I'm not a victim of the energy, or I'm not like under the influence of everything that happens. No, I'm centered in myself. I know I can always breathe. I can always bring myself back, and then I can deal with whatever happens, and I can deal with any disturbance. I can deal with like anything, where I have to react to the group. So I think that is one of the most important things. And I like to wear dresses and look like
well, sure, you want to embody your, like, how you perceive your spiritual self, for
yeah,
sure.
exactly. But I'm not really like, I'm not putting on a costume, no, in
No.
front of me. And I think that is very important. Like I've heard people, that said if you're the circle leader, you have to represent something, and you have to wear the dress. And I think, well, I'm representing myself, and I have to be myself. I'm not gonna put on a dress just to put on a dress. If I don't feel like it today, I'm gonna come in my pajamas. That's gonna be okay,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is the power of a women's circle, or this is what makes it a women's circle, is that we're giving ourselves power over ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you have to be your most authentic self. That is the most important thing. And of course, I'm going to make myself feel happy and beautiful and like energetic. And I like to also choose, for example, colors that were in the fire circle. I like to wear red. I don't wear red a lot, but if I go into a woman's circle and there's fire energy, I want to connect with it, and I want to have this fire power in me. And I can feel the power more if I'm wearing red. And I think it's just, I mean, I'm like sensitive to all these things, no, to different sounds and colors and all these kind of things. So I use it. So if you feel you're sensitive to something, use it for yourself. Use it in a way that empowers you, that makes you feel stronger, that makes you feel like that enables you.
I love that.
Yeah, so yeah, that's more or less the way I prepare myself. I try to center myself, and I come and set up the space. And then even if I have stuff going on, for example, I'm going to breathe through it. Or what also always helps is to mention it. Like the last circle that we had, that we did online, we had just killed a rattlesnake literally a
Oh,
half an hour before, and I was totally shook up, because I saw it, and I was there in my flip-flops, and I was totally freaked out. So I mentioned it, I was like, okay, this is affecting my energy right now, so I'm going to put it in the circle. And by just speaking it out, that allows me to be okay with it, and that brings me calm. So if I don't know, if I have a fight with my husband before the circle or something like this, if anything like shook me, I'm not gonna maybe tell everyone the entire story, but I may mention that I'm shook up right now, or that something happened in my day that makes me feel like this. And I think it's very good to give yourself permission to do that. No, you don't have to represent something that you're not. You don't have to be strong if you're actually not right now. It's better, I think, to be very open about those things. And then it integrates in the circle. No, the circle is not just you that holds the circle. It's not just me that holds the circle. Everyone holds the circle together. And I just support everyone with certain practices to be more powerful in that, to hold it better, to be more centered in it. And I think for me, the most crucial part is the centering. And one more thing that I think very much influences the energy of a circle is your mind.
Oh.
Thoughts. And really, this is where guided meditations, for example, are a great tool to focus the thoughts. Or like anything like a prayer, for example, can focus the thoughts. And that can have a big impact. It can really change and influence the energy of the circle. And it can make people feel like, wow, we're really communicating with a bigger force, and we're like really doing something here, even though we're just sitting in a circle, but we're doing something for the world. So yeah. And I think with prayer, for example, we haven't talked about that. Prayer is also one of the things where I speak completely intuitively. I may have like an idea of what I want to affect with my prayer. Why am I praying? For example, if I pray for the earth, and I imagine, and I invite other people, I invite everyone to imagine like the earth in the center of the circle, and how they send like their healing energy, for example, to the earth, or even to people. And so yeah, the mind has a very big impact. And I think this is one of the reasons why I am so trying to be very aware of my thoughts, and trying to be very non-judgmental. Because once you are in a circle and a woman comes in, and I feel like this, oh, I kind of, that triggers me, that's like weird, and I try to judge her, or I try to have negative thoughts, that is so going to influence the circle in a way that you don't want.
Right.
So I'm trying to be open to whatever happens, and I'm trying to take anything that challenges me as a challenge. and not be like, I don't want this woman to take over my circle, or speak when I don't want her to speak. Or I always try to be very gentle. I know there are situations where I have to act and I will act.
Right.
And that for me was a big learning curve, where in the beginning I was very shy, and I was very like, oh, all these, especially when older women came, for example, where I feel like, oh, she's like double my age, well, maybe not double my age, but she's like 20 years older than me and she knows better. But I am the one that holds the circle. So I have to take a certain authority, and I have to allow myself to be that authority. And I had such a big problem with that in the beginning. I was like, I don't want to be the authority, like I don't want to dominate. And I really had to work through that
I
to.
feel like this is, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was just going to say, I feel like it's part of a coming of age for women to be able to recognize that and go through it, where they find their authority, just not just in a circle, but in their day-to-day activities too.
Right, in life too, yeah, that I have a voice and it's okay for me to speak up. I
Mhm.
totally agree. That is very, very important. And it's great because once I learn that for myself, I can again teach it to others. I can give others the space where they can learn their authority, where they can open their voice, where
Yeah.
they can speak out loud and express. And I think it's a lot about expressing. And I mean, I have interrupted women in circle where someone started bringing up stuff that was just not appropriate at that moment.
Right.
And even though I felt a little bit guilty in the beginning, I was like, oh no, I interrupted this person, and I have to judge if that in that situation it's okay or not. And sometimes I'm giving the space. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna sit, and wait 2-3 minutes and just have her speak whatever she needs to speak, even though it's not the place, even though it's maybe not the listening circle, but she chooses a whole different moment and just starts talking about her story and da la la. And that's okay, sometimes. But there's other situations where I feel, where, for example, if I do an exercise and I ask everyone in a circle to, I do that often, to say out one sentence, to really like formulate one intention, for example, and everybody speaks their intention, and then someone tells the whole story, then I'm going to be like, sorry, that's, try to find your sentence, try to find your intention. But then I realized, it may not be so easy and so clear for everyone to set an intention like this. So
Mm.
I'm kind of, in this giving space and giving guidance, and I'm trying to be very clear when I do exercises like that of what I want the outcome to be, what I and I give an example. Of course, mostly I'm going to state my intention first or say my sentence or something like this. But yeah, I realized that this can be like a challenge for someone, that is not so clear within themselves, and then I can try and help them. So I'm not going to be like, no, what you say is wrong. I'm never going to do that.
Right.
Never ever going to do
I
that.
mean, I mean, from what I know about you, you are a teacher, and you are in a way teaching in these circles, and a teacher is giving her students the opportunity to get it right. Sometimes they might have to go about it a different way, but having that space to safely get it right is part of the process.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then, well, I think the only situation where I mean, several situations actually. So if someone disrupts my ceremony, I'm going to say something,
Mm-hmm.
because that is like for me it's like a sacred moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like, I mean, that was like tricky for me too, I was interrupted and I didn't really know how to deal with it. And then I actually asked about that in a forum of
Mm-hmm.
other women that lead circles or guide circles. And they all told me, I mean, this is, you have to ask for the respect. You have to demand, in that moment I have to demand the respect.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to guide a ceremony, or if I have my opening ritual, my closing ritual, that needs to be respected. So I need to be respected in that moment, and I need to give myself the authority and the power to act upon things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then if someone addresses another woman in a way that might not feel safe, I think that is like one of the most important things. If I have someone comment on another woman or something like this, I'm going to interrupt it, and I'm going to make sure that the other woman feels safe. And I'm going to make sure, and even if it's not a situation that feels unsafe for everyone, I'm still going to, because I think it's very important to ask for permission for things like that. And this is where I think, especially in the beginning, it's good to have rules like that. I, in the beginning, had like a kind of list of rules and I was reading them out, but it always felt kind of strange. So I'm not really doing that a lot anymore. I'm going to mention here and there something that I feel is important today. Or, for example, if I have new women in the circle, I'm going to mention this is a safe space. Nothing that's said in the circle is going to leave this circle. This
Mm-hmm.
is the number one rule that I think everybody must hear at least one time. So if I have a new woman come to my circle that has never been there, I'm going to go into little rules like that. I was thinking to just write rules down and post them somewhere, but
Mm-hmm.
then you can never really be sure if everybody's reading them or remembering them. So every now and then I come back to little things.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, there's a few situations where I think it's very important to take the authority to act upon.
I agree. So we touched on this a little bit last week, but maybe if you have something more specific you want to share, just now in the context of energy, when it's time to be done, when it's time to get back to what you normally do in your day-to-day life, what do you do to change your energy or get it off, or get that particular energy off of that moment, off of you? I don't know. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Like, how do I come back from the circle?
Well, a little bit, or like, do you ever find that anything from a circle tries to follow you? Like you keep thinking about what somebody said, and maybe it's not serving you, just kind of
Yeah.
allowing yourself to get back to your normal energy.
That is a very important point you bring up there. It's good to separate from the circle again once it's finished, for sure. I think that is very important. I had that. I had like things from the circle follow me around for another day.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept thinking about it and I kept like feeling into it. And um, what do I do? That's a good question, really.
Well, the
Like,
closing of the circle is the first thing, obviously.
yeah, I think just like packing all my stuff, for example, I make that a ritual too. The
Mm-hmm.
same like I take my time to set up and make my little mandala and set up my space and maybe smudge or, maybe just sit there for a moment. The same way I'm going to go into this meditative state when I clean up. And I mean, sometimes even like I have to, take the space, because then I have women wanting to help me and all this gathering around. And we used to have potlucks after the circle. So it was like, ooh, this atmosphere, la la. And so it's not easy to be that centered, but that is a very good exercise.
Mm.
In all this, like, woo, after the circle energies, to come back into your own center
Mm-hmm.
and go into this meditative. And like, I mean, I'm really a little bit OCD probably with that, but I have like the way, I fold my thing and I put all the things together again and all my instruments, and then it fits into my tiny little bag because I'm very good at packing things.
Yes.
I need like time with that to be able, I'm never going to just grab my stuff and throw it in the bag. That's
Yeah.
not ever going to happen. I'm always going to be very deliberate, and take my shells back and my rocks back and the things back. And I think just this process, that's already where I'm unwinding myself from it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, well, sometimes, for example, I do a little ritual when I come back home. For example, if I work with water, I'm going to offer the water here somewhere, and I'm going to give everything that needs to go somehow with it. I do things like that. Or if I'm really shook up by something, I'm going to smudge myself.
Mm.
That helps me a lot. And just, I think for me, it's just like the sensation of the smell of sage. It clears my mind.
Mm.
I don't know how that works, but it totally works.
Or-
It clears my mind. And I write sometimes. If I have something that I feel I need to process, I write.
Mhm.
I just write it out. And then I may write out any judgment that I feel about this woman, that blah, 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 blah. I just let it go onto the paper, and then I don't have to keep it in my mind anymore.
Oh, that's wonderful advice.
Yeah. Or I draw. Drawing also works for me. I
Okay.
draw a picture, like just create and express it somehow. And I think that's like, I try to express it. If I have something that bothers me after a circle, if I have something that, I feel like I'm holding on to that makes me stuck, makes me feel stuck, I use all these processes, or I move, I shake, I dance,
Hmm.
I dance it out.
So it's not uncommon for you to take yourself into a room and move and shake and dance yourself, and you don't feel silly about it in any way. It's just something normal for you, and that's something that we can each do for ourselves. And it's kind of like, for me, it's kind of like permission to be a kid again.
Yeah, exactly. To just let it, especially the shaking. Yeah. I mean, the cool thing is the shaking is a part of my Qigong routine. So I often shake. I intentionally shake. It's great. It's the best exercise. Yeah. Yeah, I think those are, but yeah, if really there's something that bothers me that kind of gets stuck,
Mhm.
writing, drawing, expressing it is the best way to get out of it. And then really, like, also, I take a shower, and I imagine that it just showers off, or I take a bath, or I smudge myself. I'm trying to, if I imagine, for example, it gets stuck in my aura somewhere, in my energy field around me, talking about energy some more, then I'm going to try to clear it consciously. Yeah. In whatever way I can imagine, or I sit with a crystal and I'm going to project it in a crystal and then I bury it or something. I can think of like a million things to do that. But yeah, it's very important. It's very important to become aware if something gets stuck in you,
Mhm.
and then to really do something about it. It's not good to just walk around another day and have that follow you. you want to detach from it. You want to get clear of that. And I think it's really good to write and reflect on circle,
Mm,
because you're always going to learn something too. No,
right.
this is the good thing. If you really reflect on a circle and really give it some more time. I mean, it's all about giving it time. It's all about sitting down again and reflecting on the circle. And then this is how you learn. This is how your circles become better and you become more comfortable in circle. And you can reflect on what worked, what didn't work, you know?
You can see where change is happening.
Yeah, exactly. And then this is going to inform your next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
That gets me excited. That makes me want to go back and kind of look at some of my old work and kind of see like that's the most exciting part when we talk about energy. For me, I mean, we're all beings of energy, and we're all, I mean, those of us who are open to it are trying to change ourselves or transform ourselves. And it's exciting to see what changes happen over time and what progress is made, and the fact that we're not one dimensional and there's so much more to us. And to me, that's just validation that there's something bigger.
Mm, lovely. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.